Remove this wheel, use a 22mm socket, take the lug nuts off. Take the wheel off. I'm gonna remove this brake hose with this grommet off the bracket. Just slide it up, just like that, just to get some more slack on the hose. We're gonna take the brake caliper and bracket off all as one, leaving the pads attached to the caliper. Take these two bolts out. Use a 21mm socket. Now slide the caliper and bracket off. Take a brake hanger, slide it through one of the holes on the bracket, and then have the other end on the coil spring, just like that. Now take this screw out, use a T30 socket. If it doesn't look so good, you might have to take a hammer and just tap it in. Remove that screw. Remove the rotor. If it's stuck on, you can take a hammer and just hit in these areas. Just be careful of the studs and slide it off. Remove the speed sensor. Use a 10mm socket. Take this bolt out. And then take the wheel speed sensor out. Just slide it out and just put it out of the way. Use a 32mm socket. Take this axle nut off. On the back side of the knuckle, there's 3 bolts we need to remove. One here, one up top, and then one down below on the other side. Use an 18mm socket to remove those bolts. When you're doing this, be careful of the CV boot. You don't want to rip the boot. With all those bolts out, now you can take the hub off. If it doesn't slide right off, you can use a hammer. You could also use a slide hammer. Sometimes those are kind of clunky. They don't always work. So just take a regular hammer and hit it from the side. And slide that out. You want to make sure you clean up some of the surface area right here and on the inside of here. If it's really bad, use a die grinder. Otherwise, you should be able to just use a wire brush. Now, just to make it a little easier, if this ever has to come off again, I'm just going to use a little bit of anti-seize. Just put it in here. Just a nice thin coat. And then just on the surface here. Now take the shield and the new hub and line this up. Get the bolts started on the back side. Then torque these 3 rear bolts to 74 foot-pounds. Now put the axle nut on. Now torque this nut to 111 foot-pounds. Just use a pry bar to prevent the spindle or the hub from spinning. Put the wheel speed sensor back in. Line that up. Put the bolt in and snug it down. Take some more anti-seize, just put a thin coat on the hub. That's good. Install the rotor. Make sure the hole lines up with the threaded hole. And you can put this screw back in. And just snug that down, not too tight. Now take the caliper off the hanger. Line the caliper up. Slide it in position, make sure the brake pads look good. It's recommended you replace these bolts when you do this job. Put the caliper bolts back in. With the new bolts in, you want to torque these to 111 foot-pounds. Then take an angle meter. If you don't have an angle meter, do the best you can. And you want to go an additional 45 degrees. And then go back and do another 15 degrees. And put the tire back on. Now I'm going to torque the lug nuts to 111 foot-pounds in a cross pattern or a star pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. I'll just go around again, double check.